Hello everyone, how are you doing today? So one thing I've decided I'd like to start doing is uploading some fights that I really enjoy, that I play occasionally. This is a quick battle that I did on Total War Warhammer, so just good old vanilla play. So just to show you the deployment, before this battle gets moving, let's move in slow motion. So I've got here my Chaos Knights and my Gore-Beast Chariots that I deployed out on the flanks. I have really come to absolutely adore Gore-Beast Chariots, and I think they're kind of undervalued by most people. Very tanky, powerful unit. Then here I've got kind of a mash of Chaos Warriors. I've got Halberds on the rear flanks. Then actually no, I was playing Dwarves. So yeah, so I've got 3 units of great weapons, I believe. Yep, so I got 3 units of great weapons and 3 units, I believe, of shields. I think that's right. Let's see, 2 shields, 3 great weapons. I've got a Lord level Fire Sorcerer on a Chaos Dragon who actually performs really well for me. And then I've got 2 units of Forsaken, which I think are probably the best damage dealing unit in the Chaos roster right now. And a Chaos Giant, which is always a really reliable pick. My opponent, who deployed most of his units in the forest, and I actually did not see them until we really got into it. And he's firing off his first cannon shots now. One of them already took out a couple of my knights, but this one is firing at my Gore-Beast Chariots, which mostly misses, and even when it does hit, it doesn't really do that much. He's got a couple units of Quarrelers. Really spread out. He was relying on the forest to try and trick most of my formation. 2 cans that were very spread out but gave him command of the battlefield. He's got some Slayers out here. He's got a Thane, the generic Dwarf Lord, 2 units of Longbeards. Then he's got a couple of Dwarf Warriors, more Longbeards with great weapons, Thunderers, Quarrelers, Iron Breakers in the center of his formation, Quarrelers, Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, and some more Dwarf Warriors. And he went for a really spread out formation, I think primarily because the forest hid. The only thing I could really see were these guys, the cannon. I couldn't even see his general at this point. I couldn't see the Iron Breakers, and I could see these guys. So he was relying on me to go for his ranged units and then try and catch me out of position, which actually was a pretty effective strategy for him. So I deployed behind this hill wanting to go over here because that's where I thought he was going to hide, but instead he hit on the downhill, which actually gives me a little bit of an advantage later on. But so basically right now we're in those initial phases where he's firing everything he can, trying to get some good early damage on my Gore-Beast Chariots, which he does knock down below the 4,000 marker. I send in my Dragon Lord to try and make a fuss, but we're going to go ahead and join my Knights here because I have not seen his Longbeards just yet. But I'm about to see them, and I do not back down from that charge. If I recall correctly, I think I actually just kind of run into him. Yeah. So I didn't really even get off a charge, but I start that fight, and I end up coming back to it later, because that's the first time I was aware of those guys. And then to open, I had my Fire Sorcerer drop a Flaming Skull, which is really good damage if you can get it. Unfortunately, it wandered off before it went all the way through this unit, but it did wander then into his Thunderers, and actually wandered a little bit into my own guys. Thankfully, Chaos Warriors are really heavy, so that does not work as well against them. Here he sent out Slayers to try and catch my Gore-Beast Chariot, but I got it away from him, and I sent in my Forsaken, which are armored, and they absolutely tear these Slayers to pieces. Because they're a really high damage unit, so Slayers are not a good counter to them. See, I pulled my Chaos Knights back here, and I've engaged him just along the front. He left this group unengaged, and he didn't really do anything with it, which is where I end up sending in my Giant. I think he could have easily had time to run around to my flanks, but I think I was better at microwing than he was. He sent some Longbeards over to help with that fight, but I figured I'd still be able to win. My Gore-Beast Chariots slammed through the Longbeards, absolutely destroying their formation, doing a pretty good amount of damage, about 1/4 of their health. I fly over here because I realize there's a lot going on, and I really am trying to get rid of these ranged units, so I fire off another Burning Head. That one doesn't do so much. I probably would have been better off just using a Fireball. And then these guys show up and start throwing stuff at my Chaos Warriors. See, he's already broken one of my shield groups. I only took the shield groups because I run them in front of my great weapons to try and block a little bit of the range damage. The Chaos Knights have made it into the Coilers now and are absolutely tearing them apart. And these are not lances either. These are just regular Chaos Knights. My Dragon gets a little bit stun locked due to all these shooting attacks, but we bring him down into Dwarf Warriors, which I love that they gave him the tentacle effect when he's on the ground. And the Chaos Dragon is actually a ton better than he used to be because he has, they buffed his armor and his melee attack does fire damage, which is really, really nice. And basically, I spend most of my time casting a couple spells. Here I got off another Burning Head into their flank, which shredded these Dwarf Warriors. And he spends a lot of time trying to chase down my Knights. Here he throws bombs at my Giant, which does damage, but I think he would have been way better off throwing it at my Great Weapons. Because while it does damage to the Giant, it's not as effective as it could have been. I mean, he knocks out about maybe 100 health per volley, maybe 200. Which, I mean, for the devastation I'm wrecking, I don't really think it's worth the trade. Chaos Dragon finishes up that unit. My Knights are just making a mockery of his ranged units. I haven't even really bothered with his cannons, because honestly, cannons have such a low reload rate, I don't consider them that much of a threat. Especially since the only monster I'm really running is my Giant. So what happened over here was that after his Longbeards hit and I killed the Slayers and made sure they were all gone, I ran away from him and then he started moving this way, so I came back down on him and engaged him in the flank, or in the rear, so that I could just go back to tearing him apart. And his generals now joined the fray. That Thane actually ends up getting some really good kills. Or at the very least gives his army the staying power it needs. And basically my Knights and my Dragon just keep running around, and you'll notice he just kind of standing around. He's not really microing that well. Well, even when he does, he comes after the units that are just going to run away from him, because I'm not going to engage these units. Unless I absolutely have to. So knowing that I'm close to the edge and tired of these units kind of rallying, I send my Dragon to go chase them off with his terror, and I send the Knights over to run these guys down because they're harassing my army. Just took a good old bite out of a dwarf there. And the Giant is doing absolutely fantastic damage, though he gets interrupted in that attack sequence by the cannon. Really good shot on the cannon. Giant, I probably could have gotten a lot more mileage out of him if I had taken out that set of cannons early, because at point-blank range, they don't miss very much. Those Longbeards, despite the fact I caught them in the rear, they actually see off my Forsaken, because my Forsaken didn't have any support from heavier Chaos Warriors. But that's alright. Finally broke all those units, so they're not coming back. So he's lost almost all of his ranged units at this point. All he's got left is one unit of Coilers, which is down to like 9 guys. And his cannons, which are about to be gone in about 2 seconds. And I'm feeling pretty confident at this point, but I did not... He finally brought these 2 units, the Dwarf Warriors and the Great Weapon Warriors. He finally gave up trying to catch my Knights and instead brought them into this melee. So I fly over here to see what I can do with my Dragon Lord. I just popped off my standard die for the melee defensive leadership bonus, which unfortunately I showed up, as always, like a millisecond too late, so all my guys are breaking. But he doesn't really have the ability to chase me very well, and this ends up causing me a lot, because my Giant gets isolated. And when he's isolated, it's actually possible for them to kick the crap out of him. So he starts running away, and I open up with a fireball here, because I'm trying to put some damage on that general. But being dwarves, fireball actually doesn't do that much damage. If you're fighting against Empire or Greenskins or any of those other guys, a fireball will usually do like 1/3 of a general's health, unless it's someone like Grimgor Ironhide. So you can really punish people who take lords like... If someone takes Azhag on a Wyvern, fireballs are really good ways to punish them for being really hidey in the back. I don't really like to use... Like, you'll notice, I try not to play really cheesy. I don't like to fireball spam the enemy general, unless it's like really late in the game, and that's like the only option I have left. Which right now, he's got exactly 100 more troops than me, so we're definitely needing to rally. But he's broke my entire army at this point. Most of them are starting to rally, though, since they put some distance, and I've still got these units. We successfully came over here and defeated both these Longbeards and Longbeards with great weapons. and got them out of the way. And basically, I'm realizing that although I thought I was winning, I'm actually down by a lot, 110 troops, which for dwarves is not bad. And my Chaos Warriors over there just shattered. And so what I do here is I rally all of my troops together because they get a leadership bonus by having their flanks covered. So I basically rally them all together for one final stand on the hill, knowing the dwarf player is going to come to me because he's probably feels strongly that he has the advantage. So I'll get a downhill charge, which is going to help me do a lot of damage. And of course I bring my knights running as fast as I can, and there's me firing off more fireballs. Which, like, you know, this guy was at maybe 200 health. And I just point blank hit him with a fireball, which is actually 2 fireballs. If you've ever seen the spell, it actually splits, and it barely did anything. It did a lot of morale damage, but that was about it. And in come hit my Chaos Knights. So here we get a really big engagement. I'm just trying to do as much damage to his general as I can with my giant. Chaos Warriors and the dwarves clashing again. I even bring my giant down on top of his thing, trying to finish him off. Looks a little goofy. And then my Chaos Knights come plowing into the Iron Breakers, which I'm barely taking any damage at this point. Giant's getting really, really low on morale. The dragon takes a bite out of that Thane and kills him. Just chomped his head right off. And these warriors, I'm guessing he just told his guys to charge. And yeah, see, microing I think is what really did this guy in. I honestly think he had the better list. My giant just died to his general. And I come over here and I set my dragon on him because I'm thinking, okay, if I can just kill the general, his army will mass rout. You'll notice that most of my units are actually shattering now. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe I got this. You know, maybe I can take this guy out. And this dwarf lord manages to get, like, beneath me. And my dragon keeps attacking and, like, missing him. Granted, he's got really good melee defense. But I really hate that windy breath weapon. I wish it was like a legitly crazy Arctic Core one. So I hit him a couple times and I do some damage, and when these guys start charging down I realize, okay, it's time for me to get the hell out of here. Because clearly I'm not doing well. But that being said, I'm loving this fight just because of how close it is. I mean, this meter's been at 50-50 the entire time. And there I fire off a fireball because I managed to get his lord to break. But once again, the fireball didn't do anything. I would have been better off saving that for the armor. And my dragon just literally pulled a Mario and stomped on him like he was a Goomba. But unfortunately for me, he gets back up instead of being flattened. Despite the fact that Godzilla just landed on him. And basically at this point, I start rallying my army together. And I'm trying as hard as I can to kill the Lord. And he's trying as hard as he can to engage me. So I see that he's coming after my knights. So I bring my Chaos Dragon down into the spray, despite being really low on health. And I start attacking all of these guys, holding them up just to give my knights enough time to get away. And then once I've done that, I say, okay, I'm done, I'm out of here. Now really, this is something that's kind of is really hard to deal with flying characters, is that he didn't manage to surround me, so I was able to just walk out of the fight. And down there, my Chaos Knights are basically fighting his lord, who because of his obscenely high melee defense, is being very, very difficult to kill. And I'm basically just flying my dragon overhead my knights to try and make sure that, there he is fighting them over there, trying to make sure that they stay in, like, good control. Yeah, so he's at 87 health. They're about to deal a death blow to him. I think somebody walks up and smacks him with a sword. Down to 68, but like killing this guy takes forever. The generic Dwarf Lord, in my opinion, is one of the better of the generic characters, though I think they're all pretty good. Yeah, see, there he goes. So we finally cut him down. The Dwarf player, I saw one of his units, Terror broke. Because if you don't know about Terror, if your leadership is low enough, it causes a unit that's not immune to Fear and Terror to just break automatically. So he broke because of Terror, and so I ran over there to shatter him just to get rid of some extra units. Same thing here. These guys broke because they were just too exhausted, and the Terror bomb got too close, which is what I call when in Warhammer Fantasy in 6th edition. It used to be when a Terror causer would charge an enemy unit, they could force a unit to flee, and they had a 6-inch bubble around them, kind of like this game does, except for obviously it's not 6 inches; it's much larger. And everyone in that bubble could be affected by Terror would run away. In tabletop, and when you did that in mass, we called it terror bombing.
Which, now that I think about it, is probably kind of an insensitive name, but whatever, I'm sticking with it because it's been there longer. And so terror bombing is you just throw a terror-causing unit into some really, really shaky units, which this game, it works the exact same way. But if you're too close to an enemy, they'll get used to being scared of you, and the terror will not affect them anymore. So if you want to terror bomb a unit successfully, you actually... it's not letting me select them, which is kind of annoying. You actually have to quite legitimately go away and then come back once their leadership's low enough. So with terror causers, you really want to leave, like with flying monsters, you want to leave, come back, leave, come back, leave, come back, to try and cause as many units to flee and terror as you can. Basically, at this point, I was thinking about trying to run my knights around up to here and claim the high ground, but when I saw he was actually coming off his high ground, I decided not to be a jerk, and was like, you know what, if he wants to have one final hurrah, we'll have one final hurrah. So I charge my knights into his iron breakers, and then I bring down my dragon, squish on top of those guys, and we basically just duke it out to the very end. And once again, he forgot about a unit. I don't think it really would have made any difference, but with his general gone, he had too low of leadership, and I believe he quit right before the end, which to me seems a little goofy. You know, you figure it's better to hang in there to the end. So this is the final score. I deployed with about 340 guys less than him, but all of my troops were, like, I wouldn't even call them elite, but I didn't take any Norskins. His Thane got really good mileage. Most of the Longbeards did really well. The Slayers actually got a lot of kills, despite the fact that I threw a counter unit in on them for what Chaos has for counter units. The only thing really better would have been something like maybe Warhounds or maybe Marauders. His Ironbreakers, of course, did spectacularly, because Ironbreakers always do well, and this cannon got some great shots off. I believe this was the cannon that survived, that was in the center of his army, so I wasn't able to get to it as fast, so it was able to just keep firing. This was the cannon my knights got on, and obviously it did not do well. Thunder's all of his ranged units I shut down really fast. He spent too long spinning in circles, trying to target stuff like my dragon and my knights. He would have been a lot better off just going for my warriors to try and swing the melee in his favor, considering he had Longbeard, so he had the better troops. But the Thing did really well, the Lord did really well. My Fire Lord did phenomenal, with 129 kills, which is absolutely crazy. Granted, Lore of Fire is unique in that for some reason it's the only lore that shows how many kills you get using magic. So this is my Lord's kills from melee and from casting spells, which I kind of wish they did that for all of the spells, all of the lores, and I hope they fix that in a future update. But right now, that's, you know, so that's all the Flaming Skulls I got off, which only one of them was really effective, but what you gonna do? Forsaken did really, really well, over 50 kills each. I consider that awesome value. Great Weapon Warriors did pretty good. They got their money's worth at least. Gorby's Chariot did pretty not as good as he normally does for me. Normally he gets about 40 or 50 kills, but between the cannon shots, getting shot by the Quarrelers, he was down to about 3/4, I think, of his health before he even entered combat, and he got engaged against Longbeards with great weapons, and they are able to tear him apart. He's really, really good against lower melee. So, like, if you get him in against, like, Dwarf Warriors, or even Longbeards with hand weapon and shield, or any ranged units, the Gorby's Chariot is super tanky and will just run in there and not go anywhere. My Knights got 162 kills. Obviously, they were the MVP of the game, besides my Fire Sorcerer. They were my MVP unit, though, with the most kills. The Dwarves just weren't able to do anything about him. He should have saved his Slayers for either the Giant or the Chaos Knights, but instead just kind of threw him out to try and chase down the Gorby's Chariot, which was really goofy, I think. Because they're not going to catch the Gorby's Chariot. It's just not going to happen. Especially when you've got just units like Great Weapons. Generic Great Weapons are all you need to take down a good Chariot. It's just a matter of getting it to stay. Chariots are as good as you micro them. I didn't micro my Chariot very well because I was too busy microing my Knights and my Chaos Sorcerer Lord, and it shows. Other than that, I think the reason I was able to one-up the Dwarves, I honestly think he had a slightly better list than me, but his micro skills were not as high because he had a lot of units that were just sort of sitting around. But that being said, this is probably my favorite game I've played on Quick Battle so far,
It was a really even game. Neither of us took cheesy lists. You know, I wasn't doing giant spam or chaos spawn craziness or taking, like, you know, all sorts of that crazy crap I keep seeing. You know, no death wizards, none of that stuff. Not going to just trying to fireball the Lord and do nothing but. And he didn't run the Slayer. If he had run the Slayer Ironbreaker Death Star, that I don't know if some of you guys seen, where you basically just take 3 Runesmiths, 3 Ironbreakers, 3 Slayers, and Ungrim, and you stick them all together where they can't be separated, and Chaos is just fucked. Like, Chaos can't do anything to it. Because the Rune Priests can just keep popping off things that make my magic worthless. So both lists were really fun. Like, I'm going to be hosting tournaments very, very soon after the Beastman update, because I don't know if you guys have heard, but the Beastman update, which I'm going to make a video about this soon, are adding in customizable characters and units, in that you're going to be able to have banners and items, and now you have to, it looks like you have to buy spells now, so characters aren't all lore masters. So, like, when I take a Sorcerer Fire Lord, he's not going to know all 6 spells of Lore Fire. I get to pick what spells he wants. Or I have to pick what spells he has. Which hopefully will make them a little bit cheaper, or maybe more expensive when they know all the spells. Which, if that's the case, either of those is fine. Because, like, right now, the only spells I really like are Fireball, Burning Head, and Cascading Flame, or Cascading Cloak of Flame, or whatever it is. Sometimes I like Burning Sword of Ruin, but that spell's really only good if you're up against ethereal. It shines when you're up against ethereal units and trolls, or regenerating units. So trolls, Cryptor, stuff like that, because they'll give you flaming attacks, then you can just butcher them. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this fight. Let me know if you want to see more content like this in the future. If you're out there and you're like, hey, I'd like to play Loremaster of Sotek in a game, you should find me. I'm not hard to find. I usually add people on Steam. And I am always open for a game. I play this game a lot. Like, a lot. So I hope you guys enjoyed this match. I just wanted to showcase a little bit of a fun game. Navigator, if you're out there, thank you for the game, good sir. Your micro game could use a little touching up, but honestly, you played a great army, a great list, and I really enjoyed the game. And I'm glad you didn't try to cheese me out by just hiding in the forest the entire time and like trying to just constantly surprise. Your tactics were really awesome. I appreciated that Navigator tried to do a really interesting strategy. It just required like obsessive amounts of micro. Like, if I had been trying to do what he was doing, I probably would not have been able to do it very well. So mad props and mad respect to Navigator for trying such a complex strategy. If you can iron out the tactics for that, I think you're actually going to have a really good list on your hand with dwarves springing traps on people going for their war machines. But in any event, that's it for this. So thank you guys for watching. More stuff's coming soon, all that jazz. See you around. Oh, also, every night I stream on www.twitch.tv/Loremaster of Sotek. Every night, pretty much, I stream Total War Warhammer. If you ever want to know when I'm streaming, the easiest way is either to follow me on Twitch so you get a notification when I go live, or to follow me on Twitter at www.twitter.com/lsotek. Because if you follow me on either of those, I always tweet when I go live, and of course Twitch will send you a notification. So hope you guys can join me. We've been having a lot of fun. I'm finishing up an Archaon campaign on hard right now. That's been a long journey. I think we're on turn like 360, which we should have ended it like 50 turns ago, but long story. But one of my lords got killed by a bug, and that sent me back really bad. So in any event, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you around. Bye.